Here we go. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Denise Hyde, community builder with the Eden Alternative, but I am not the most important person on the call. You are the most important person on the call. So I'm going to turn it over to Jill Vitale Awesome, our CEO, to open up our time together.
Hi, everyone. Wow. We had this idea like 2 days ago that, we started thinking about, well, first of all, the challenging situation that all of you are in. Thank you for everything you are doing. And we know how challenging this time is for all of you. And we also started thinking, my gosh, with all of these restrictions, that the elders that we support are even more vulnerable to loneliness and helplessness and boredom. And so, as Denise said, this isn't us doing a webinar telling you what we think we should do, that you should do. This is everyone sharing ideas, and what a cool opportunity for all of us. I mean, in this time when we are really kind of isolated from each other, to come together from across the world. We've got people from all over the US, we've got people from Canada, Denmark, South Africa, Australia, who I don't even know. There's probably other people that have joined as well. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming together to talk about this really important topic, and for coming together for a little face-to-face interaction during this challenging time for our whole world. So I'll turn it back over to you, Denise.
All right. And let's not forget Canada. We have a great presence from Canada, and they are super important and engaged.
Did I not say Canada?
You didn't. I didn't hear that.
Oh my gosh.
So we want to catch them. Definitely.
Canada.
Definitely.
I'm so sorry. Gosh, thank you.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. So that said, we thought we maybe should just let's review the basics, because not everybody on the call is an Eden associate and knows the Eden Alternative and the 10 principles like we do. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I just want to kind of let you know what do we mean by loneliness, helplessness, and boredom, and what does that look like? So this is our principle number 1 of the Eden Alternative philosophy, and it states what we consider the problem, and that is that the plagues of loneliness, helplessness, and boredom account for the bulk of suffering for our elders. And as Jill said, isolation only makes that much worse. And loneliness we define as the pain we feel when we want companionship but cannot have it, which is one of the issues going on right now. Helplessness is the pain that we feel when we only receive care and we don't have opportunities to give care. And that imbalance is going to be even more accentuated with everything that's going on right now. And boredom is the pain we feel when our lives lack variety and spontaneity. There's no surprises left. It's all recognized and figured out, and day by day, and we're really controlled environments. And so boredom is a real possibility going forward. So we also have 3 principles, which are the antidotes to the plagues. And the first one is principle number 3, that says that loving companionship is the antidote to loneliness, and elders deserve easy access to human and animal companionship. So this is getting tough, because we can't bring in people from outside into the elders' lives until this is calmed down. So we have to figure that out. The second antidote to helplessness is that an elder-centered community creates opportunities to give as well as receive care, and that is the antidote to helplessness. So what are some ways we can balance the giving and receiving of care during this time? And then the antidote to boredom is that we imbue daily life with variety and spontaneity, and we create an environment in which unexpected and unpredictable interactions and happenings can take place. And again, the more stressed we are, the more this seems like an insurmountable task, but we're hoping that we're going to find some answers to make that doable. So I would like to introduce Bill and Jude Thomas, the founders of the Eden Alternative, and we would love to hear some wisdom from you guys as we get started.
Well, you go.
Hey guys, I'm so excited looking at everybody's face on there. I don't get to see everybody, so this is balm for my soul right now, and making me feel true joy, which has been a little hard to find in the last few days. I know we all have our concerns. We certainly are concerned about our Haley Jane first and foremost, and doing everything we can. But as Bill and I got talking about this call today, I realized that we really need to be turning to the wisdom of our elders, because I think of all of the things that our elders have gotten through in their lifetime, all the crises, all the difficulties, and part of how we can reach out to them also to eliminate their loneliness, but is to reach out to them and say, we need your wisdom here at a time when we're all struggling. and let the elders know how important it is that they give back to us. We need them right now. This is exactly what the Tribes of Eden is all about.
And Jude said it best, as far as I'm concerned. You know, reciprocity, and the beauty of reciprocity with people who've been through things a lot worse than this, and got through and overcame and built a new normal, and that we were the beneficiaries of. Now it's our turn, and we can and we will turn to them for their guidance and counsel. And at the same time, I think it really is important, as Jude said, to acknowledge the difficulty. And I wanted to make one point to kind of throw out there for discussion, hopefully. Let's remember this. The whole of American society is about to get dunked in the tank of social isolation that the elders live in, too many elders live in every day, year after year. So let us take this time to deepen our understanding of how difficult social isolation is. And Jude and I were talking before we got on with you guys, and we were saying, well, I don't know what to say, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, we'll listen to the tribe. That's what we'll do. The tribe knows the answers, and listening to each other and supporting each other and being true to what we believe is what will carry us through, in our opinion. So as you know, Denise said, I'm going to throw it back to Jude, but then just say that this is about us together, and being together and drawing strength from each other. And that's what we intend to do. Go ahead, Jude.
I just also want to add for all of us that this is not, this is certainly about a time for all of us within the tribe to learn and to share, but it's time really for our world, I'm hoping, to take some lessons from this, for all of us to become humbled, for all of us to realize that we're human beings around the world, and we all are susceptible at times, and that we need each other. It's a lesson hard learned, but I'm just really hoping, certainly within this tribe, that we grab a hold of that and we become better for it, and that the rest of the world can do the same. And I may be Pollyanna, but I have to look at this glass half full.
Mm-hmm. And with that, I'll say that is part of this call. If there's anyone on the call who wants me, you all have good access to information, but if anybody wants me to offer any particular insights about what the situation we're in, medically speaking, generally, I'd be happy to do that as well. So I'll throwing it, Jude and I, throwing it back to Denise.
All right. So as everyone has said, this is all about all of you, and I'm just here to try to facilitate the conversation. So I'm loving this. Okay, so I'm gonna try and catch up on some of the stuff that you guys have been putting in the chat box. Use the chat box. Let's get communicating. Give thumbs up on things that you like, and if you hear something that you'd like to hear more on, we can ask people to unmute and share their story. Some people are saying they had trouble hearing. So you might want to check the speaker volume, or that you're accessing the right speakers on your computer. Sometimes you need to jump out and in. And you do have the option in the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom window to choose speaker view or gallery view. So you can fluctuate between the two, whichever works better for you, and play with that. So there we go. Okay, so there we go. So Jack says, if 2019 was a year of international bickering, 2020 is a whack upside the head to remind us all that we're one human species regardless of our national tribe. I like that. Thank you, Jack. Yeah, the gallery view is a lot of fun. It would be interesting. Yeah, Jack, if you want to add any more comment on that, you are welcome to unmute and share.
I don't have anything. I can't really add anything to that. I think it says it all. I think this too will pass, but in the meantime, we're all learning how to use social media, and it's been an interesting time. The precedent that I look to is 1918, the influenza epidemic, and I think we can all learn a lot by looking at that. There's a book by James M. Barrie that you can get from Amazon that will give you the history of that epidemic. We're reliving it now.
How so, Jack? Can you tell me more?
Well, there were some cities that hunkered down in 1918, St. Louis and San Francisco in particular. They were able to, excuse me, do what we call flattening the curve, so they weren't as overwhelmed. They still ran out the disease. It's very hard to stop the disease until we get a vaccine. And and that contrasted with Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., which didn't do that and had disastrous results.
Ah, thank you.
If I could pick up on something that, thank you for your comments, Jack, and I'm going to look for that book. This is an interesting issue that is very much related to the Eden worldview. There's a way of approaching the world that says, I'll do for myself what's best for myself, and everybody else is kind of on their own, and we'll proceed in that fashion. And then there's a view of the world that I'm going to make some changes in what I'm doing, that might help me in some way, but is really intended to help other people. And I'll tell a quick story about a remarkable young man Jude and I were in contact with yesterday. He and some friends had a trip planned to Philadelphia, by the way. And he was talking to his dad about the trip, and his dad was concerned. So Jude and I got involved in the conversation. And what we said to the young man was, geez, you're probably going to be fine on this trip. You could probably go and be fine. But it's really all of us together limiting our social contacts that's going to flatten the curve and change the nature of this. So what we were saying to that young man was, this is something small that you can do for everyone, is not make this trip. And his dad wrote to us this morning and just said that he'd really thought it over and was really embracing this idea that not going on the trip was something he could do for other people. So this is important in the social distancing conversation, is to really frame it as a gift, a contribution that every elder can make, that every person on this phone call can make, that helps people we may never meet and we will never know. But even though it's a sacrifice for us individually, it's good for the community.
I see lots of heads nodding. Thank you, Bill. There was a question earlier, and maybe you've got a comment on that. And the question was something about if you get it. Hang on, I'm looking. I'd like to know if there is a developed immunity to the virus if the individual survives it. And I don't know if we have enough information yet to determine that.
I'm just speaking medically, and there's probably other medical people on here who can speak as well as I can. The case fatality ratio is kind of what we're talking about. And the fact is, we don't have good data, really good data on the case fatality ratio. There's some evidence that in some spots, the case fatality ratio is higher, and in some spots it's lower. Everybody who studied fractions in school knows that the bigger denominator, that will change the percent. So the more people that are tested makes it seem that you have a lower case fatality ratio. So, oh, good. See, this is what I'm loving. People are putting up resources on the chat box. So if you're not looking at the chat box, I encourage you to do that. So we don't know. All we know is that it has a higher case fatality ratio than the flu. That we know, and that it spreads more easily than the flu. That's what we know, and for that reason, it warrants the kind of attention that we're paying here for this.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So Jenny, I love your comment. Jenny says, I'm so encouraged by the younger people in my community reaching out to send letters, emails, lead virtual activities, and lean on their elders during this time. Jenny, you are welcome to unmute and share your story. We would love to hear it.
Hey guys, so good to see the tribe this morning. Hi. You know, my first question after all these precautions came up was what we were going to do about the 3 plagues. And we're a really diverse intergenerational community, so we've reached out to a lot of our partners for support in that. We've got entertainers doing virtual music sessions and drumming circles, which we're excited about. We've also, we have a local high school that we work very closely with, and they've lined up 10 days of virtual activities that they're going to do with us. Some of them are like Skype canvas and cocktails events or crafting. Other ones are they're coming dressed up as superheroes to clean the outside of our community and provide a little fun and entertainment. We're also dividing up amongst our leadership team. Each person is assigned to a certain number of family members that they'll reach out to by text on a daily basis to share pictures and updates. We just want to do the best we can for them. Just this morning we went under full precautions, so no visitors at all, which was not our hope, but this is one way to combat that. The other thing we're doing is, you know, our families are, they're wanting to stay in touch a lot for themselves. It's their own peace of mind, but we really want to energize them and empower them to be able to give back and let that be a two-way street. And so I think early next week, we're sending out like a sign up genius sheet saying, when can you sign up? Do you want to sign up and show us what you're making for dinner? Cool. Do you play the piano? Cool, give us a concert. So those are just some of the things we've been noodling around with today, but we're so excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you unmuted, Jenny. Thank you. Yay! Oh my gosh, like my head's just exploding with ideas already. This is great.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Yeah, we can, you guys, we can do this right. Like there is so much around senior living that is, as we know, negative and doesn't do anything to further our cause. And so this is really our time to shine. Like, let's get creative, let's get virtual, and let's show our families, like, this is what we're made of.
Absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And I know I've got a teammate that shared a wonderful story this morning, and I see her online. Dana, would you be willing to kind of share as a family member with your mom kind of what your story is?
Sure. So glad to be here and be on the call. It's kind of emotional. So what I worked out with my mom is that I check in with her twice a day, once in the morning, and then she has a whole day to think about what she wants to talk about with me when we connect again at the end of the day. And so we connect again around 6, and she tells me a story that she's thought of during the day. So anything that she wants to, you know, from her past or anything. And so I've been writing down these stories, and I'm going to put them together in a collection of stories for this time period. So it really gives her something to think about and to get her mind on and off of what's going on, and it gives us an opportunity to connect in a different way that we haven't really had before.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Because the family, you guys are right. The family members are suffering as much as the elders are. This isn't just like within the walls of wherever the elder lives. It's like rippling out so far. It's pretty amazing how interconnected and intertwined we are. Liz says, building our new normal together with wisdom from our elders. Thank you all for being here. She's in Lander, Wyoming. Appreciate that. And we got to thank you for Mr. Jack Cumming. Thank you for being. Star says, as of today, our county health department has signed orders that limit access to our buildings to only essential staff or contractors. The elders can only leave the buildings if they have medical treatment appointments. So, wow. Wow. How many else of you are figuring out that this is the same thing for your new normal? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of, so you're not alone and your elders are not alone. Anything you want to add, Star?
Well, I've been sitting here thinking, and I love this. This morning, I was looking forward to this call, and it's everything I thought it was going to be. And so thank you all for joining. Yesterday, we had a meeting with the county health officer, and she announced that she was going to sign this order today, and that we were going to have to stop doing what we were doing, because we were screening visitors and asking them certain questions and getting them to sign a logbook, which is way over and above what we've ever done in our building. So that's gone away, and now we've had to go to this more stringent, okay, only essential personnel and any contractors that we need. But in visiting with our elders, the elders that live here at Piners, I felt a sense that they understand why this needs to be, and we're a fairly small community, so we're close-knit already, and that, I feel, is something we can take as a strength. I loved the ideas that were shared by, is it Jenny?
Yes.
Yeah. Jenny, great ideas. And, we asked the question yesterday in our meeting, okay, what about people who come in to entertain for us? They said, oh, no, they're not allowed. So we were going, oh, okay, well, I guess we're going to have to become the entertainers. But Jenny, your ideas have sparked some thoughts in my mind and in the other people's minds sitting around the desk here this morning. So thank you very much for that. And this is a period of time. We asked yesterday, how long can we expect this order to stay in force? And the health officer said she expected through the 15th of April. So it's a period of time, and we're just going to have to get creative and do our very best to meet the needs of the people who live here, the people who work here, our community.
Nice. Thank you, Star. I'm glad you were getting inspired.
Denise, can I make a comment about that, about Star's framing? I just want to say, first and foremost, Star is one of the people who was one of the original founders of Eden, and a person who's traveled the journey a long time together with us all. So notice how conversation with elders, discussing with elders. And then the focus on time and, how long is this going to take and so on and so forth. We, strange as it sounds, we have an opportunity here to shift from a vision of time that just goes day after day, month after month, to what the ancient Greeks called kairos. That they had this idea that there was regular daily time, and then there was a time that is special time, that is remembered differently, that's experienced differently. And Star, you're really setting the stage for the elders to define this period as a different kind of time. It's a kind of time where we all came together. It's the time when we were really watching out for each other. It's a time when we were serving the community in a special way that was preventing other people from becoming ill. It was a time of service. And those things really can shift from I'm being confined to I am mapping a different kind of experience, a different kind of time, and a different kind of purpose to what's happening. So I just wanted to say to you, I felt your comments were very rich and powerful.
Thank you. All right. And Angie says, I think we can look toward building community and togetherness in an entirely new sense of the word. I like Jude's positive outlook because we look at social distancing as a catalyst for change. So very cool. Angie, I don't know if you want to get on and say anything else about that.
So I think what I want to say is just to take this opportunity, if everyone could think about taking this opportunity to really focus and collect in on what is the inner creativity. And I know Ann Essing and I met last night on how do we really engage, because to Sarah's point earlier, we have performing artists around the country that also are out of work at this time because there are no people to perform to. And so how do we really start to build community and get those virtual connections and bring those performing artists in? I mean, he says that we can't bring opera singers and all types of people into our communities virtually, and then create an opportunity for a call and response interaction, just like we're doing today. Something just like we're doing today works exactly the same with our elders and creates an opportunity for interaction, and also provides some added resources because of the stress that the professionals who are working, you know, in the homes are under increasing amounts of stress. And now that we don't have the opportunity for volunteers, that increases even more stress. And so when we start to think of how do we really look at this in building and deepening relationships, and it's a perfect opportunity really to grow that greenhouse that we really talk about, that model that we talk about in Principle 2, to really grow that human habitat, because right now we're in a perfect opportunity to grow a human habitat and to grow it from within. And it's really all in how we take our view on it. So I'm absolutely with Jude and Bill on. I may have a little bit of a Pollyanna look too, but I also can see the positive, because in every great adversity there comes something where people have to dig down within themselves and find their inner solution and what's going to work for them. And when we approach our elders and just start to ask, hey, I think maybe you've been through something similar, and how did you see the world at that time? Because there are many times in our past when we've seen a world crisis, right? And I mean, at any time in history, when you look at different plagues, outbreaks, when you look at world wars, you see crisis situations and how people in the past have handled those situations. And I think that learning from that, and to the point of getting those stories and those moments of wisdom that they have to offer out to the world, because the world sees us now, sees our elders as something, again, that's high risk and that needs to be protected. And so while I don't discount that is the case, that they are vulnerable and susceptible, that they also have so much more than that to offer that we all on this call know. And so it's how do we start to really change the dynamic and change the discussion globally so that people start to have that view, I think.
Thank you. Yay. Thank you, Angie. All right. And Jack, I see Jack left the camera view, but he did make another comment I wanted to catch before we moved on. He says, one of the big challenges for congregate senior living is that the temptation is to just comply with directives from authorities. That is a minimum, and compliance directives lag the disease. The best approach is to get ahead of the curve and stopping congregate meals and other hazardous interactions among residents. It takes action, not administration. So really appreciate, Jack, you continuing to share your viewpoint. I was just sharing your comment, Jack. I see you back on camera now.
Thank you. Yes, I had to go tell my wife that I'd ordered dinner rather than lunch.
Okay. All right. All right. Jeanette, now Jeanette's got an interesting thing. I don't know if you guys read what she posted, but I really would love to hear from Jeanette on this. She says, in addition to social isolation of older adults, I'm concerned for those who are on social media such as Twitter, who are now reading comments equating COVID-19 to social Darwinism, the belief that it's necessary of nature to rid itself of old people. And there's a phrase called boomer remover going around. How do we counteract this narrative, especially for isolated, vulnerable older adults reading these ageist messages? I had no idea, Jeanette. I don't know if you want to make any further comment on that. That's scary. If you want to add, you go to the bottom of your Zoom window and over to the left, and you can unmute yourself. Anybody else have any comments on that? I'm looking to see if there was anything else posted.
I saw that comment, I'd jump in on it and just say, ageism is 24/7, 365. And what we're seeing here is when people are afraid, they are more prone, fear makes people more prone to prejudice and bigotry. And we all know lots of historical examples of this. So as Jude and I, we always said and continue to say, the antidote to fear is education. So one really important thing everybody on this call can do is to cultivate this idea that it's not young versus old or healthy versus sick or rich versus poor. It's all of us. And I think Jack really made a good point there, that we are all in this together. And there isn't anybody, as far as we know at this point, on the planet who gets a free pass. So that means everybody's in it together. When people get scared, they transmit, fearful messages. And it's our duty, I believe, to counteract those fearful messages with education and information and the sense that we're all in it together, which is far more valuable than it's all about old people or sick people or poor people or whatever, or people from other countries or whatever.
Okay.
I would just add that there's, when you have a plague like this, we had a big plague in the 14th century, there was a lot of gallows humor. And what you're hearing is sort of a kind of sick gallows humor. It's best to try to avoid that. One of the there's developed a sort of a bias against Chinese people, and we've experienced it. I'm in California, and we have a large Chinese population here, and that's not bringing out the best of everybody. But I did hear this morning, it was actually on British television, but a commentator pointed out that the problem arose from China and the solution is now coming from China. And if you check some of the Chinese sources, they're ahead of us and we can learn from their experience, including the heroic intervention of that young physician who gave his life when the politicians didn't like what he was saying. And we have that going on here because initially some people weren't crazy about what Dr. Fauci was saying. And yet my experience going back to the HIV epidemic is that Dr. Fauci is the guy to listen to. So I'm glad now he seems to have found his ability to speak. I love the fact that Dr. Fauci, he tells it like it is, unblemished.
Very nice. Thank you, Jack.
I'll just add, Dr. Fauci has my full confidence. Yeah.
Okay. Jeanette, I can see that you're on trying to speak.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I finally figured out this system. Thank you. Yeah, I've been on Twitter and on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, not so much. I don't see these messages so much on LinkedIn because it's more professional. But what I tend to do is, since I've had the privilege, hi Bill, of writing for Bill's Changing Aging blog, I kind of use I link to various things either that I've written or that other people have written to provide a source, a resource immediately. When somebody makes a comment, I'll say, try this or take a look at that. So I agree with Bill. I think education is so incredibly important, but we have a challenge when we're sitting here in our own apartments or homes. How do we do education? So we need to use Twitter in its best form as an education tool. So that's what I'm hoping to do.
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you. So we had a question about social isolation. So let's get into that. Social isolation, what are some ideas? Jenny, you shared some great ones with us. Brett has a comment here. He says, when he moved to Victoria, BC to be closer to his parents as they age, he was given the opportunity to work on some passion projects. One of them centered around senior loneliness and isolation. because it's being worked on from the side of my desk. It's been in beta for a year now. It sets up moderator calls with 2 seniors. I don't know if anyone is interested in trying it with their elders that are isolated. Brett, would you like to say more about that?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I moved to Victoria, and I come from a background that's probably different than a lot of people here. I actually come from the marketing world. And I moved to Victoria because my parents are aging, and all of a sudden I had free healthcare. So I didn't have to work for all the things that I didn't necessarily want to, and it allowed us to start doing passion projects. And 2 main ones came up, and they both centered around people. The first one was doing house concerts, which is easy. But then the other one was I used to do Meals on Wheels, and I was close with my grandparents. And Victoria, if any of you have been, we have our population is older than the rest of Canada. And I started to see a lot of lonely seniors. So then I started using my marketing background. I was like, I'm going to go research this. So I started to research, and I saw the issue. I saw that loneliness, isolation, loss of partners, friends, movement, the ability to go out and just see people. So I built a program, which will ultimately be a service where we connect 2 seniors, and they're allowed to talk for as long as they want. And in doing that, in looking at all the other solutions, a lot of solutions are created by people in Silicon Valley who don't necessarily have the best interest in what will work as opposed to what's cool. I mean, even looking at Amazon, logging onto Zoom took me 3 times, let alone, so I wanted to get rid of the barriers. So I wanted to do over phone. And basically it connects 2 people. It starts with a moderated call because conference calls are always awkward to begin with. You kind of sit there and you don't know when to start. The moderator will drop off, and it will allow the people to talk as long as they want. And then when they're done, they're done. And basically the idea is to have them from geographically different areas. Right now I can handle all of North America. I can't handle international, but we want to allow it so, for safety's sake, we don't want 2 people, say, in Victoria. We want the distance to be larger than 50 kilometers or 50 miles probably. All calls are recorded. If it gains any traction, there'll be other security features added in, like AI monitoring for keywords like money and then ping. But yeah, so it's been in beta because I've been working on stuff that actually pays, and I've kind of been tinkering with this. But it's sitting here, and I have the system, and unfortunately, what better time to use it? So if anyone out there is interested with their seniors that can't, because of lockdown or isolation or whatnot, I'd love to hear from you, and I'd be very interested in running it. Let's try it out. Let's see it, see how it works. There are going to be hiccups because it's still just it's a minimal viable product. So there are some hiccups along the way, but if anyone's interested, please let me know. I'll put I'll put the address down in the bottom there. And yeah, I'd love to hear. I'd love if people's seniors are, stuck at home and worried to roll this out and try it, because I think the feedback I've gotten so far is people enjoy it. And yeah, it exists, so I'm willing to try it with anyone that's interested.
All right.
I'll pause myself here. Mute myself, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Brett. Awesome. Yeah, that was kind of rolling through my head, like maybe this is a time where we try to find elders that are in their own homes in the community who are isolated, and then we get these elders in long-term care or assisted living or something. Is there ways to find ways to connect them together so they can share their common challenges and what life is like and be a support system for each other? So I love that. Thank you for doing that. Here's a thing from Famata. She says, in South Africa, we had our first confirmed case this week, and today we are at 24 cases already. We anticipate this number will escalate exponentially. So we're planning with our care partners, including the elders, on our response. We unfortunately don't have the access to technology, but we are mindful that our elders are experts and they are the solution as well within each of our communities. We will be engaging further to make a more practical response protocol. So anything else you want to add on that, Famata?
Hi, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I think just to add, we're quite mindful that within some of our communities, our care partners, including our caregivers, are coming from low-income households. So while we talk about the impact on our elders, we also are mindful that the impact on the larger community is something we need to be considering. So from a workforce perspective, we're concerned about what happens when we can't get people in to help support the activities of daily living for our elders. But you know, for example, one of our communities has 640 elders, and not every one of them require care. But you know, we talk quite a lot about intergenerational work where there is collaboration between generations, but perhaps we need to be speaking a little bit more about intra-generational work where people who are capable can assist others who have a little bit more care needs. And perhaps because we're in a good situation because we're not as regulated as sort of the Western communities, it does give us an opportunity to be a little bit more creative around the skill set that our elders have and harnessing that. You know, again, when we talk about opportune moments, two of our communities have just been entered onto the Eden Register. So we've been engaging with our elders as part of the solutions within their communities. And I think this becomes part of the conversation as well. So I think for us, it moves beyond just the elders, it moves to the community where the elders live and the people they interact with, and trying to find solutions that goes beyond them as well, but recognizes that they are contributing members of the community. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I like that. I like that. All right, so I'm going to kind of open it up. I'm a little behind on chat, so I don't know, Meredith, if you're seeing anything you want to chime in and call on anybody.
Yeah. How about Stormy Faust? You want to unmute and share? Sorry to call on you, put you in the spot. You were recently in the chat box, and I thought maybe I could catch you. Maybe not. Okay, maybe not unable to mute.
Dorothy doesn't have a mic.
There he is.
She doesn't have a mic. Yeah.
Okay.
No mic for.
So anybody want to unmute? How about we just open it up for somebody to unmute that has something they want to add?
Meredith, I have a question for the group.
Laura?
Just listening, and I'm seeing some of this come up in the chat box, but like Denise, it's moving fast, which is cool. It's a little hard to keep up with. I would love to hear from those of you in visitor lockdown situations who are actively engaging the elders in dialogue or conversation about their ideas about dealing with loneliness, helplessness, and boredom during this time. I'm really loving the idea of hearing about the elders' perspective on what should happen, what they're requesting, what they're suggesting. Does anybody have any stories like that?
I can say something to that effect. I am on the outside in contact with people on the inside. And one of the things I'm hearing is this word aloneness. And we could keep people in community and we can keep them busy and, you know, in activities, and it's all wonderful entertainment. But the spiritual side of this is something that I'm hearing, especially now that Mass has been discontinued. Now they're trying to get their spiritual needs met. And so this is something that I'm very concerned about, because at the end of the day, everybody goes back to the room and they're alone. How do we help them learn how to be with their thoughts and with their fears? So this is something I'm hearing a lot about, because the people I know who are in communities, when we get on the phone and we talk, we dive deep. So I'm very interested to hear all the professionals' thoughts about helping people with their aloneness, not loneliness, aloneness. Looks like everybody's muted or maybe doesn't want to talk.
No, I love what you said, because that's why I wanted to go over the 3 plagues, because of the painfulness of it. And we can busy people all day long, but that doesn't really solve the depth and breadth of what the plagues are about. I see Bill's unmuted, so I'm gonna.
Well, I wanted to pick up on what Denise was saying, and I just want to say, Joy, I appreciate your comments and the directness of the knowledge you're sharing. I just, you know, an important thing I learned in medical practice was a symptom isn't just like a symptom. It is a bundle of meaning. Like, what does it mean? So to be alone in a way that the meaning is, I am cast out, no one cares about me, I have no one I care about, I am bereft. That kind of aloneness is almost unbearably painful. There are other kinds, the same aloneness structured around a broader meaning or a connection to a broader purpose can actually be experienced very differently. So what we don't have in our power directly is to, you know, defeat the virus and move on and everything goes back to the way it was before. We don't have that, but we can help people structure meaning around what's happening. And I just want to, you know, kind of go to back to the top of the call and just say, you know, if I could be on the calls with you, Joy, and having these conversations, I would be doing what I could to help people place their aloneness into the context of something that was meaningful and purposeful and useful to the world as a whole, and not a personal failing or a personal tragedy. And that, you know, building the sense of us being in a very big historical moment together is a powerful way to reshape the experience of aloneness.
And this is Jill, if I can just jump in. You know, at the same time Bill is saying that, which I love, I see Jack's comment that at his community, they have a resident initiative to call each other and call those who might feel lonely, and the church's live streaming services. I think this is a really, and I hadn't really thought about this before, but this, like every other thing that happens, generally we place elders into a victim role, and it's our job to protect the victims, right? But to bring back that power, that me not being around other people is helping to protect other people, and what can I do to, you know, bring value to the world during this? Wow, that was just a huge insight for me, and I just wanted to share that, bringing this back to reframing with the people that we support and that live in our communities or that we're supporting in their homes is so powerful.
I'll just add to that the biggest thing that I've experienced since I moved into a resident is that by becoming a resident, you become second class. And I feel that if I'd stayed out in the larger community, I might have mattered more. I do manage to function, but I moved in 14 years ago so that my wife would be set if I were to pass away suddenly. And I like the social idea, I like the standby care. So there are all these features that are good, but what is most relevant is that by being a resident in a senior living community, you become invisible in the larger society. As soon as people hear where you live, you don't matter anymore. As my friend Bob Nicholson likes to say, if it's about us, then it ought to be with us. We have a master plan for aging going forward in California, and there are no elderly people included in it, including the senior legislature, which is part of the government here. They don't have a seat at the table in this master plan for aging. This problem of invisibility. I have a friend who's a consultant to CCRCs, and he lives in a CCRC, and he says, I could never tell my clients where I live because if I told them, I would lose them as clients. That is shocking for an industry that claims to be combating ageism. We've got to get these trade associations in this industry to step up and take the leadership to really show that this is the answer to aging, or it will no longer be that.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. So we are down to our last 10 minutes, and I want at least 2 minutes at the end to just like give a little call to action to all of you. So I want rapid fire. What are some ideas, creative ways you found to combat loneliness, helplessness, and boredom during this time?
This is Mary Miller from Human Good. So hi everyone, it's good to see you and great to be on the call. One of the things that we're doing is trying to connect our, it's called our Community Support Center, but it's our home office or our corporate offices with our communities, and especially with the lifestyle enrichment team. So I'm reaching out to them. We've got an email distribution group, and we're trying to connect them so that they know that they're supported by our home office, our CSC. And we're getting together our technology people and making sure that the communities have ways to connect the residents to the programs that they already are experiencing. So if we've done all these in-person programs, how do we make them virtual programs that are just as meaningful, where it's with the people that they're used to having those programs with? So that's what we're working on right now. It's really connecting people through technology, but also offering the heartfelt support from our CSC to the community.
Very nice. Thank you, Mary.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, I don't know if you can see me or not. Can you see my plants?
No.
You can't? Oh, I'm holding all these little cute little pots of green beans that are just growing everywhere. And what we did here at Liberty in Kentucky is we kind of forced those by covering the pot with plastic wrap and then putting it in the window to where it would just zoom right up. So in 3 days, they were breaking the ground, and we had peas and beans and all kinds of stuff just growing and looking beautiful. And the elders love it. Every day they're checking them and looking at them and looking out the window at them. And anyway, growing stuff is awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, I would turn this on, but I can't find it. Start your video, lower left. Oh, maybe I can give you just a little quick shot.
There you are.
Hey, so looky here.
She's even got her gardening hat on. I love it.
Yeah, so this was just a few days and poof, they're already up. So just imagine a whole, maybe a whole swimming pool full, or you can put them on a tray and take them room to room and show everybody room to room. So happy gardening. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Denise, can I pop in really quick? I love this. So I want to throw this out there, and I would like to throw out there that we would be willing to do these on a weekly basis.
Silly lady, did you
get together? I mean, Denise, I don't know if you're going to want to yell at me later, but I think we need this right now. So if I'd love to hear if people would want to do this every week for a few weeks and see how it's going.
Can I endorse that and just say that let us practice what we preach. Let us deepen and enrich our connections and our community, and let our community be of service to the world. This is the moment where the usual gives way. And, Eden, I'm going to just say something about the history of Eden, and I have a very important person right here. The history of Eden we've always struggled against usual practice, because usual practice is so powerful. And usual practice normally has a veto on all kinds of things. And I wish the virus that we're currently experiencing would disappear tomorrow and all people would be in good health. That is what I want. However, if that's not going to happen, let us use the opportunity created by the status quo not exactly being right for the moment to show the world what we have to offer. We as a community of practice, we as a group of people who believe in the value, wisdom, and worth of elders. Let us show, don't tell, what Eden has to offer in this moment.
May I just jump in and ask one question of folks who are working or living in communities that right now have a visitor lockdown? We talked about in our team the possibility of creating virtual gatherings for communities so that the elders themselves could make connections with other elders in other communities during this time. Maybe having some interesting questions to start conversations with on a system like this. Are there any interests on your part in participating in something like that? If we were to create a meeting like this for you to bring elders into a room and see other elders in another room in another city or another country, and have some interesting questions for them just to answer and share their perspectives on, so they can have a conversation with people outside their four walls, would you show up?
As an elder, I'll say that we elders are doing it for ourselves. So we don't need young people to explain to us how to do it. We use Zoom, and Zoom is working fine for us. So we're doing it here in our community. What we found is that generally the residents are way ahead of the providers in using technology to advance senior living, because people who grew up in this business, most of them were trained in textbook occupations. So they aren't trained to do critical thinking at the same level that many of the residents are. And sometimes that's intimidating for providers, and that becomes a pushback, and we need to break through that. Also, staff, they have performance evaluations. So many of the initiatives that residents undertake that succeed are claimed by staff as their triumphs in their annual reports for their performance reviews. And we're fine with that, because people, if you don't care who gets the credit, you're more likely to get things done. And we're living here. This is the life we're living. But I think these things are not talked about in the industry very much, and it's not really noted, and it's creating a pushback that's hurting this industry. We need to make the aging services industry function at a high level.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. I just have one other thing, and I think that Michelle's emailing me. She's on the road and she's on the call, but she can't do anything chat-wise. But she says, why we talk about that we need to isolate the elders, but does that mean they have to stay in the building? Like, why can't they go sit out on the front porch? Why can't they be out gardening? Why can't they be out feeding the birds? Why can't they be outside the walls of their building? Yes, they're not supposed to interact with the larger community, but she said that's one of the paradigms that people are getting locked in. Oh, they have to be isolated. That means we got to lock our doors. Well, they could be outside getting some sunshine and fresh air too. And so I thought that was just really kind of fun to bring up. So I'm going to turn it over to Meredith Martin. She's got a call to action, and then we'll wrap this up, you guys.
So I don't want the conversation to end. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not ready for it to be over. So we have a couple of ideas kind of looming around about some weekly recurrence, but I just want to challenge all of you, like Bill Thomas challenged me 11 years ago to join Facebook land. If you're not on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, this is a megaphone for all of these amazing things that we've talked about today in the chat box. Share with the world all the creative ways that you are eliminating loneliness, helplessness, and boredom. It's like Dr. Thomas said, hard times are story times. So I am going to do my very first Facebook Live video. I have never done a Facebook Live video before, but I put together a little tutorial thanks to WikiHow if anybody else is interested. But we'd love people to just start flooding social media with posts. What are you doing? What are the great ideas that the elders have? How are you bringing in community? Take the challenge to do a Facebook Live video and spread positivity. There are a couple of ways on social media that we can keep the conversation going. They use hashtags to really kind of organize conversations. So in this document we're going to share with all of you, there's a couple of hashtags
that if you use them, even if we're not friends, there's over 120 people on the call today. We don't have to be friends, but if you use the hashtags, we can search for them and we can find your posts, right? So take a look at that. We don't want the conversation to end. So let's head out to social media. Let's, you know, tag your friends, do a live video where you can engage like this. And we'll send over a little cheat sheet for anyone new like myself that has never done it before. And great time today. Thanks for everyone.
All right.
Could I just jump in? If those of you who are not following the Eden Alternative on Facebook, follow us. And this is, I hope my team's okay. I'm going to commit we're going to do this again next week. I think I'm seeing nods from all my team. So that's where we will post the information and everything about that too. So yeah, I'm excited. Keep this going.
So I saw a couple questions. Just know I'm going to put the recording together. I will send it out to everybody that registered, so you all get it and you can share it far and wide. I'll send out the cheat sheet for doing live Facebook posts, and I'll also see if I can get the chat together and send that to you, because there's a ton of good stuff in the chat and you might want to refer back to that. So I'm going to try and get those 3 things out in an email with the recording link, and we'll let you know when we're meeting next week, because like this has been awesome. You guys are terrific. So thank you for joining us. Yay!
Thank you so much. We love you.